For more on this story, we turn to barrister Duncan Fairgrieve, who teaches comparative law at the University of Paris Dauphine. Thank you for being with us here on France 24. I got to come back to that statement by Tusk from Wednesday because he read it from a prepared statement. This was not an off-the-cuff remark.
No, I tend to agree. I don't think it was an off-the-cuff remark. I think it was obviously expressive of some of the frustration that is there in Brussels. And maybe also it's a kind of attempt to apply an electroshock to the process. At the moment, we see the British position sort of sleepwalking towards the cliff edge. The Tusk approach is to kind of wake them up before that happens.
And Dave Keating mentioning there that there could be some wiggle room in the political statement. Just to remind our viewers, the divorce deal, there's all the binding things about divorce from the European Union. The political statement is just sort of general intentions when it comes to the negotiations over the future trading relation.
That's right. I mean, there's the two elements, and it's been indicated by Brussels that the withdrawal agreement is not open for renegotiation, but there are indications that they're willing to think about the political statement, maybe develop that form of words, etc. Going ahead. But will that be enough? Will that be enough for the Conservative MPs? I mean, I think it's unlikely that just a good intention and broad words will be enough. There's a real focus, as we know, on the backstop, and that is, of course, in the legally binding withdrawal agreement. So it remains open, really.
So what was today about? Because she goes to Brussels before the day begins. We know she wasn't going to obtain anything. She meets with the leaders, lots of photo ops. She leaves. She didn't obtain anything. What was it about?
It's difficult to say. I mean, I think she needs to show to the domestic audience that she's battling for Britain, as we say. And so that's part of the process. I think a longer strategy is to apply the pressure on all sides and to keep in mind the binary between, if we don't find a compromise, we have the cliff edge, we have a no-deal scenario. So
she's playing the clock.
I mean, I think the arguments are that she's playing the clock.
Is it a good strategy to play the clock when right now it's complete deadlock within her own party?
I mean, I think to be honest with you, the negotiating strategy of the UK government has not been fantastic in this whole affair. Clearly, 10 days or so ago, 2 weeks ago, she said that the only deal available was the withdrawal deal and it was not open for renegotiation. Then we saw a shift last week to say that that she would try and renegotiate. So the strategy that she has changes from week to week. So it's very difficult to understand, and hence I think back to the Donald Tusk remark is that it's very difficult at an EU institutional level to actually push things forward if there's so much opacity about the actual UK approach.
Sounds like from what you're saying, nobody's going to blink.
I think hopefully there will be a compromise in the end, but this is a game of brinkmanship which has been run.
And is the compromise going to be between parties at Westminster, or the compromise going to be between London and Brussels?
It's an excellent question. I think it's going to have to be a bit of both.
Now, we were talking about the Prime Minister's strategy. How about the leader of the opposition? Jeremy Corbyn has written to Prime Minister May, spelling out what he wants in exchange for backing the government's Brexit plan.
We need a comprehensive customs union with the European Union. We need a comprehensive trade agreement with the European Union, and we need what's called a dynamic relationship on rights at work, rights of environmental protection and consumer protection, so that this country doesn't then consistently fall behind in the future.
Duncan Fairgrieve, before I ask you what a dynamic relationship means, isn't there something missing in there? There's no call for a second referendum.
There isn't. I don't necessarily think that has been discounted by Jeremy Corbyn. I think what he's trying to do is put a proposal to Theresa May and see whether there is appetite for a discussion. Keir Starmer's team, Keir Starmer is the opposition Brexit minister, are saying that If that shifts from, if the Prime Minister is not willing to discuss that, then in that sort of impasse, we will move to the possibility of a second referendum. That was in the conference position of the Labour Party, so it hasn't been taken off the table, as far as I understand.
Now, you're a Remainer. Does it make you nervous that you don't hear Jeremy Corbyn spell out saying, if we don't get all this, let's have a second referendum, or whatever we agree to must be put before the people?
I mean, I think what has to happen now is that the main political parties need at the 11th hour to come together and discuss properly, rather than taking political stances. As I said a minute ago, we're in a situation where brinksmanship seems to be the preferred negotiating strategy at the UK level. And what is needed is some constructive discussion to find a proposal which is actually going to stand a chance of being accepted in Brussels.
Is that possible with the personalities, the characters that we're dealing with, Theresa May, Jeremy Corbyn, the hard Brexiters within her camp?
It's not easy. The political situation in the UK is very complicated, and we saw 10 days ago an attempt of Parliament to try and take over or influence the process. I think for that reason, because at a leadership level there's such difficulties, the parliamentarians are quite frustrated, and not just Brussels. That in an internal sense, the parliamentarians are frustrated, and attempted to through the amendments 10 days ago to influence that process. That didn't work, and the ball is back in the Prime Minister's camp, really.
It didn't work definitively, or Parliament could take the reins?
That was the moment. That was the constitutional moment. The votes, the amendments were there to be voted, and the various amendments which gave Parliament a much greater role were not successful. So we are back into a kind of classic executive-dominated bilateral discussion.
One final question, Duncan Fairgrieve. What do you do now if you're a company in the UK or in France or anywhere else on the continent? Do you really seriously make all the preparations for a no-deal Brexit?
I think they put their head in their hands at the moment. I mean, it's very difficult to...
Is this really happening in 50 days?
That's what's it. But I mean, they are obliged to prepare for a no-deal. And again, we've heard some very stark language used by Tom Enders of Airbus last week, used language as well, like Donald Tusk, pretty stark language to try and apply that electroshock to the UK government, talking about the situation, the disgraceful situation or the negotiations are in. So that just reflects, I think, what business are thinking and how difficult it is for them due to the lack of certainty.
All right, Duncan Fairgrieve, who teaches at the University of Paris Dauphine, thank you for being with us.